As leaders, we need to help the people on our team play to their strengths. One of the simplest ways to do that is to gain a better understanding of personality preferences using the 4 DISC profiles. And it can be even easier and faster when you understand the 4 primary birth orders. The 4 DISC personality profiles or temperaments are dominant, influencing, steady, and conscientious. A dominant personality tends to be a take-charge person, a natural leader. An influencing personality tends to be expressive, spirited, and people-oriented. A steady personality tends to be mellow and considerate. And a conscientious personality tends to be precise, analytic, and systematic. Keep in mind that most people are a mix of these. For example, I am primarily a D with a secondary I, and there's no right or wrong. This simply helps you gauge your preferences so you can play to your strengths. It can be a little tricky to identify which of the 4 profiles is most applicable to someone you know, and sometimes it's tricky to know which apply to you. Typically, you need to ask a person to complete a DISC questionnaire, and even then, the results can come out differently depending on what's going on in their life when they complete the questionnaire. That's why for years, I've found it helpful to understand that a person's birth order has a fairly high correlation with their DISC preference. And it's certainly easier to ask a person if they are a middle child than to guess at their DISC profile or ask them to take a DISC questionnaire. Now, an oldest child in the family is often a D. That's your clue. A youngest child is often an I. A middle child is often an S. And an only child is often a C. Of course, there's not always a one-to-one correlation between personality and birth order, because there's many other factors that may apply, especially factors such as blended families. A great resource for understanding birth order is the Birth Order Book by the psychologist Dr. Kevin Leman. Let me give you an example of how this can be helpful. The medical director for a large client of ours serves in both a clinical and a leadership role. The clinical role is very much about caring for people one-on-one. He loves it and he's good at it. That requires a fair amount of S. And most of the clinical people on his team are S's. But his medical director role requires him to lead people and make a lot of decisions very quickly. I noticed that some people on his team were frustrating him by taking an S approach to decisions. Have lots of discussion, let people sleep on it for a week or 2, and then come back to discuss it further, build consensus, and make it unanimous before implementing it. At a dinner meeting one evening, I learned that he is an oldest child. It became clear to me that he's primarily a D. Now, as education speaker Kent Julian points out, D's and I's tend to prefer a fast speed. They are energized by activity and variety, by fast decisions and quick action. They are inclined to believe that a fast decision is a good decision, whereas S's and C's tend to believe that a slow, deliberate decision makes for a better decision. As a primary D, this medical director greatly prefers fast decisions. Keep him informed, but don't bother him unless you really need him to weigh in on a decision. And if you do, be sure to bring a solid recommendation that he can react to quickly. If you do this, he will subconsciously perceive you as more helpful and smarter. So realizing that he is an oldest child helped me be clearer that he is primarily a D, even though he does have a secondary S preference. And being clear that he is a D helped me and my team work more effectively with him. Now, in addition to a difference in speed preference, another key difference is focus. D and C tend to have a task focus. They are interested in results, achievements, and details. I and S tend to have a human focus. They are interested in people and relationships. Again, neither is right or wrong, but it's helpful to know the focus of you, your team, your family members, and other key people in your life. The DISC profiles and birth order can help you have a quicker and deeper grasp of the natural temperament and preferences of you and other people. There are 3 ways to take advantage of this information for greater success in leadership. Play to your strengths, compensate for your weaknesses, and understand other people. We talk about how to do that on our podcast episode 29, which you can find at engagingleader.com/29. I'm Jesse Leahy with engagingleader.com.